Hey guys, today we're gonna be playing some getting over it with Ben and Foddy. Trending. Yeah, fun. Trending. Okay. Is he gonna come out of that pot? Okay. Wow. These graphics suck. I'm gonna turn it up to extreme because I'm an extreme guy. So is this game supposedly. It doesn't look much better, but okay.
Starting over is harder than starting up.
Shut up! I'm trying to play the game.
If you're not ready for that, like if you've already had a bad day, then what you're about to go through might be too much. Feel free to go away.
I'm having a great day. I'm having a great day. Ah, frick.
Alright, thanks for coming with me on this trip. I'll understand if you have to take a break at any point.
Shut up.
The obstacles in sexy hiking are unyielding.
Oh my god.
And that makes...
No!
Yeah. Keep on trying.
Is getting over it really that good? The question that everyone seems to be asking themselves at this moment. Okay, I take that. I actually take that back. I take that back. I'm sorry. A question no one's been asking themselves, which makes sense because I wouldn't be making a video if everyone was asking themselves that question. So I guess that's good for me, right? I guess I don't know. The game has garnered a loyal community that enjoys discussing subjects ranging from personal progress to the creator's intention to even the philosophy of the game. However, despite the praise, I personally believe the game is incredibly flawed, not because it's not for me, as many people say dismissively, but because it has legitimate fundamental flaws that, under the context of the creator's intention, are praised where they would be criticized elsewhere. In other words, it deserves to be somewhat discredited. Now, before I go ahead, I do want to reiterate, this is my opinion, I'm not saying anything ahead of this is pure fact, it's more self-therapeutic than anything else. So the narrator, Bennett Foddy, states this game is homage to a free online game released in 2002 titled Sexy Hiking. Sexy Hiking's goal is very similar to Getting Over It, using a hammer to climb over objects in the scene. In an observation at the beginning of the game, he states regarding the creator of said game,
"But I'm not sure Jazuo intended to make a frustrating game. The frustration is just essential to the act of climbing."
This quote is part of the problem I have with this game's praise. As an isolated sentiment, yeah, I agree, playing through Sexy Hiking myself, I found the difficulty to be charming, a part of its identity, as opposed to being its sole intention. Can the same be said for Getting Over It? No, it can't. Getting over its intention is to be hard, to hurt a certain kind of person, not naturally a part of the identity. It seems like he didn't set out to make a game, he set out to make an excruciating experience. Foddy seems to have this idea regarding obstacles and difficulty, stating there are real obstacles and false obstacles.
Most obstacles in video game worlds are fake. You can be completely confident in your ability to get through them once you have the correct method or the correct equipment or just by spending enough time.
Thus, by his logic, the obstacles in Sexy Hiking are real because the game offers but one means of overcoming them. However, just because an obstacle can be achieved via multiple methods, that doesn't mean the challenge is lowering itself in difficulty. That's not how it works, Foddy. A good example is the beginning of Dark Souls. It's the first thing that came into my head, okay? I'm sorry, alright? I'm gonna mention Dark Souls if I can, in the beginning you encounter your first boss, the Asylum Demon. You can either take him head on there and then, or run off to a side gate, get better equipment, and assault him from above. Running away isn't exactly an easier option because consequently the player encounters more obstacles which justifies their reward. I don't see how that makes it a false obstacle. It's not as though the demon can be avoided. In fact, following Foddy's logic, all obstacles are therefore false because all obstacles are eventually triumphed. I could say the supposed real obstacles in Getting Over It are now fake because there are now plenty of speedrunners who have accomplished the game within, 3 minutes? Difficulty is only partial identity of an obstacle, the other percentage being the accomplishment at the end. Whether the reward at the end is seen as satisfactory or not is obviously subjective. The important thing is that there is an accomplishment. When there isn't, it stops being an obstacle or a challenge and becomes nothing more than a force of nature that cannot be moved or passed.
An orange is sweet, juicy fruit locked inside a bitter peel. That's not how I feel about a challenge. I only want the bitterness. It's coffee. It's grapefruit. It's licorice.
This perspective is very much reflected in an interview with Bennett Foddy about the game. He explained how he believed that under the right context, frustration is an emotion with pleasure. As an example, he references Twitch streamer Rockley Smile, who falls from a strong height and, while at first frustrated, begins laughing, hence there's some sort of enjoyment factor in there.
Just saying. You don't even know.
I've found a new low.
However, the next time he falls...
Come on.
I
God.
don't know. Is the second one the one?
Later on he says,
I'm like seriously addicted to the endorphins that come from winning in this.
endorphins are, as they work, stimuli to combat the full effect of stress and pain. Thus, the laughing is more of a to combat the frustration. It's a relief, as opposed to the frustration being legitimately funny or enjoyable. In Rockley Smiles' case, this enjoyment seems to derive from the thought of achieving victory, the idea that all his pain and suffering will pay off through beating the game. Challenge is nothing without victory. The bitter orange peel is nothing without the sweet interior trapped within. Okay, no, that sounded bloody pretentious. As Twitch streamer and YouTuber TyroneSama said in a review, without the light side, there's nothing to strive towards. No reward for the game to hold tantalizingly out of reach. And if there's nothing withheld, is there still a reason to care? Choice words, TyroneSama, choice words. Subscribe to my boy TyroneSama. I hope I didn't just butcher your name right there, but yeah, subscribe to him anyway. I'll just link in the description below. Just subscribe to him, please. But regardless, it seems that Foddy wants to incite cruelty and frustration, not challenge. Even near the end of the game, when the player is so close to victory, he places a snake near a "Don't Ride" message. Should the player ride it, they slide all the way back to the beginning.
No.
This thing that we call failure is not the falling down, but the staying down. Mary Pickford.
In other words, they suffer, not because they actively failed, but because they thought something was what it wasn't. It's very much trolling at its finest, but does that belong in such a game? Does that belong in any game? Here's the thing, I don't believe that the game content itself is incredibly hard, more so it's the brutal consequences of screwing up, and that's what creates this sense of massive difficulty. He thinks games like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice are hard because it erases your progress if you die. But is that really what hard is? Much of the difficulty seems to come from this trolling element. In 2012, upon talking about his debut game QWOP, he so eloquently explains, "I think it's reasonably rare for the developer to teabag the player." Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's really not a good idea. The concept of trolling was heavily popularized through gaming, mainly online
And then
first-person
you got
shooters.
this
Trolling is
douche canoe
sabotaged
camping
many
on the
game
MG in the
to point where
back
some
of the
refuse
map.
to play the
It's a
game
beta,
anymore.
bro. Move
It's a
out of your
negative idea that
spawn.
started from the community itself, but is never really an official, solid element of the game. Now, while I wouldn't go so far as to say Getting Over It endorses trolling within the genre, actually it kind of does. I mean, come on, who enjoys trolling other than the people that commit it? The narrator, though somewhat an encourager, urging you to continue or take a break, is very much intended to annoy you at times. He even takes a jab at people watching someone else play the game on YouTube or Twitch instead of doing it themselves. Some believe this is Foddy just telling the player to experience it for themselves, but then why does he compare us to
Like a baby bird being fed chewed up
food? Yes, that doesn't sound belittling at all. Not to mention a low blow, Mr. Foddy. Another element is his commentary on digital culture, which he regards as trash culture.
You can build culture out of trash. But only trash culture. B games, B movies, B music, B philosophy.
So how exactly is Getting Over It breaking the mold, Mr. Foddy? If you love it, fair enough, but Foddy criticizes the internet for its vapid content and lack of depth. Oh yeah, because I just can't wait for Vati's lore video of Getting Over It.
But even with nothing left, he sacrificed himself to keep the dark at bay. This is the story of a man who fought against the inevitable.
Format-wise, it's nothing that game-changing. It's a homage to something else that was already made, a love letter. If you're going to criticize the state of a culture, helps not to use a product that contributes to said state of quality. He also has this bad, half-assed justification for the game design itself.
I'd have an idea for a new obstacle, and I'd build it, test it, and it would usually turn out to be unreasonably hard. But I couldn't bring myself to make it easier. It already felt like my inability to get past the new obstacle was my fault as a player rather than as a builder.
So basically what Foddy's saying is, I made something and put it somewhere, then tested it out, and it was hard. That's what difficulty is, my boys. This is the problem. This is the problem. The inconsistent variation of difficulty, and don't give me that, oh, it's just like a real mountain crap. It just shows his inability to even care about how something is structured, and then say, oh, it's your fault if you can't get past an obstacle in my game as a defense. That's weak, dude. He then says that these obstacles, this difficulty on the mountain, is developed and made real as we try again to climb it. Which is fair enough, I guess, but when you design it like that, it comes off as half-assed defense of laziness. Now I know a lot of you are probably at this point saying, dude, I can deconstruct your whole argument with one main point, which brings me to my next point.
Traveler Green. Getting Over is a homage to Sexy Hiking, which is a B game. As he explains in the beginning, B games are
Rough assemblages of found objects.
therefore it's okay for his game to be how it is, right?
Right?
Right? Yeah, that's where
I think the problem lies, for the most part. A vast majority of the community label this as either a trolling game or a purposefully contradicting game, that the game is intentionally designed this way. That wouldn't surprise me. But how far can you go in using the defense of self-awareness and purposefulness before you actually start doing it? Let me use an example with our good old boy Leafy is here. Leafy, come on. It's been like so long, dude. Why haven't you uploaded? I think, can we put a rest in peace sign for Leafy here? Yeah. Leafy received strong criticism for being a cyberbully, making fun of kids, and to almost sort of devalue this, he claims self-awareness with introductions such as, hey guys, cyberbully here, so all of a sudden it's okay. But he's still a cyberbully. I can make a horrible piece of artwork, but the moment I say,
it's stylistically designed to be that way, and
it suddenly becomes a bold piece of art, completely dismissing the fact that it's the same horrible piece of artwork that it was before. And that's what I feel like this game is. Bennett Foddy supposedly being self-aware of his B-grade content shouldn't protect him from the fact that deep down he made a pretty flawed game. I don't care if his philosophy is supposedly intentionally contradicting. I don't care if his supposed true purpose is to show the continuation of B-grade media. He made an overrated game. Yes, Sexy Hiking was designed to a B-graded extent. Yes, Getting Over It follows in those footsteps, but it's apparently artistic and bold. The big difference here is that one is free, and the other is $10 bloody. He talks about the game seriously enough in his interviews, so even if this is a trolling game or a contradicting game, it doesn't defeat the fact that Bennett Foddy's game is pretty underwhelming when you think about it. At least for me. Considering the fact that he studied philosophy in college yet made statements about teabagging the player, it doesn't really matter whether he's serious about this or not. He made a lazy game and he expects people to pay for it. Other games would get torn into by reviewers if they had this function, but because it's supposedly the intention and purpose, all of a sudden it's okay? Now if you love Getting Over It, don't let me stamp on your parade, and I'm sure that if you do love it enough, you won't care about this anyway. But this is my 2 cents on the game that everyone is essentially calling groundbreaking when I see it as nothing but lazy, but then due to its strange and subjectively interpretational nature, all of a sudden it's this big amazing thing. Thank you for watching and have a good day. My goodness. Oh man, this took me way too long to do.